Jay, that's strangely close to Daniel Jones from the Giants. Daniel, is that you? Beat the Chiefs. Show me. If the Broncos and Russell Wilson can show me that they can beat the Chiefs, then I will start believing.
The crowd up. And so are this defense, and Kansas City won't snap the ball again. The Denver Broncos have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs.
Dave Montgomery and the Lions, former Bear, gonna make this his revenge game for sure. David Montgomery gets the touchdown that ices the game. No! And there's the flag. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. Snap. Hold. Kick.
Denver wins! Denver wins! Let's go!
They open. No!
What happened?
Top five, no debating. Top five.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Only Football Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Kyle, and Rick, not with us today, but with us in heart. He's going through his big move. Really excited to see where he ends up. Maybe his Wi-Fi will actually work. We got Ginger in the chat. This intro makes me one happy, Ginger. That's all. I think you're in the intro, actually, Ginger. I think one of your comments pops up. But I'm just going to get this out of the way. We did have a death in the NFL family today. Always unfortunate to talk about it, and always wonder if we should do it at the end or in the beginning. But it was Vontae Davis, a two-time Pro Bowler, died at the age of 35. He was discovered in Davie, Florida, where unfortunately a lot of NFL deaths have been happening recently. I think we had quarterback out of the Commanders, then the Redskins. Ohio State quarterback passed away on, I think he got ran over on 95, but this was in Davie, Florida. The police said that there was a medical call after a house assistant found Davis deceased. Preliminary information suggests that foul play was not involved in Davis's death, according to the police. I guess not a ton of information. You know, these things are, I guess, held pretty close to the chest when they first are released. And of course, we want to respect the family members and all that and let the process be the process. But there was a statement that was released by the Dolphins on Monday. Said, "We are heartbroken by the sudden passing of former Dolphins cornerback Vontae Davis and extend our deepest condolences to his family and loved ones during this difficult time." So with that said, by the way, you guys can't see it, but I have my computer doing this weird thing right now and I can't move it. So I'm just going to ignore it. We got Bill in the chat. What's up, Bill? Happy to have you in here. I knew you'd be in West Coast. I knew it was a little bit earlier, but this is, as you could see, Miller Mondays. We got ourselves a ice cold frosty right here. And Bill said not feeling 100% today, to be honest. What's going on, Bill? What's going on? Let the Only Family Football know. But before I drink, cheers to all of you guys. Always. Cheers to Vontae Davis and his family. And hopefully they'll be all right. Our thoughts and prayers are with them. Jim Irsay also tweeted, I don't know if they say tweeted or X'd, but he said, extremely saddened to hear about the passing of Vontae Davis. Jinja, obviously a big Colts guy. So cheers to Vontae Davis and cheers to you guys. Happy Miller Monday. That was great. That was really good. All right, so there was some sneaky moves that happened today. This isn't going to be our typical long form episode because tomorrow's going to be a pretty long one. But I did want to just hop in here and talk about a couple of things that have happened today. One of them was that the Denver Broncos made a move. Denver has made quite a bit of offseason moves, but a lot of them have been under the radar, because they're not big splash names. You got Reynolds getting signed from the Detroit Lions on a 2-year deal worth up to $16 million. Nothing to freak out about. But Denver's most improved player, as far as PFF grades go, last year was Lloyd Cushenberry, our center out of LSU. He did really, really well, and he was the one player that a lot of people thought Denver was going to go ahead and pay. But they didn't, because the Russell Wilson, I guess the residual damage from that contract, we're in no position to pay anybody right now, and we're avoiding using the term rebuild. I won't even say it. So we're not in a rebuild, but it seems like we're in an RB, I'll call it that. So regardless, the kind of deals that we have been making aren't really Sports Center worthy, but there was a new move to sign, you guessed it, another former New Orleans Saint. You guys can just start calling us the Denver Saints or the New Orleans Broncos. It doesn't make a difference to me. So this was just, maybe 12 hours ago. The Broncos signed Throckmorton. What a name, right? The first thing I thought is I would like any guy with this name to be on my team, along with Lloyd Cushenberry. But this guy played in Oregon. He came into the league in the 2020 draft. And we also, real quick, excuse me, took a huge chug. We give a lot of passes. Think about kids, right? During the COVID year, I'll call the COVID year 2020, right? It changed the whole world. There were kids that were seniors in high school that weren't able to capitalize. Let's say that they just started as a junior and they were just starting to make a name for themselves, and then they didn't get to play their senior year. And because of that, they're not moving on to play football at the higher level. But this didn't just affect football. It affected all of life. I mean, you could make it, you could fill in the blank with whatever it was, and COVID fucked it up during that year. But it also affected athletes at the college level and, of course, the NFL level. So you get drafted into the league, and we know that the 2020 year almost feels like a dream looking back on it. No fans allowed in the stadium. And there were plenty of players that were drafted into that class. And just with the weird life that we were living at that time, you forget to remember that NFL players were also, in some cases, a victim of some of these weird rules that existed in 2020. So he's only played 20 games at guard. He was responsible for protecting the Saints quarterback and opening up holes for running backs like Alvin Kamara and Mark Andrews. We got LP in the chat as well. Bill, dealing with a cold. And hate to see that. Jen just said, you sick, Bill? That looks refreshing too. Dude, it was refreshing. And if it makes it any better, I poured this draft from the garage beer cooler itself. Ginger said, if it's a bad one, it can kick your ass for a couple days for sure. And man, dude, I think I told you guys, but I take the medication called Dupixent for eczema, and it lowers my immune system. Well, I happened to get my shot that lowered my immune system the same moment that I picked up on a virus. And it was a very nasty combo. I mean, it was one of the worst colds or flus that I've had in a long time. I remember I think it was the very beginning of November, because we were doing our Halloween episode, and I was dressed up as the Joker. And I was like, thank God I'm dressed up as the Joker, because I literally feel like shit. But so hopefully you get better, Bill. Zinc, vitamin C, lots of water, no alcohol. Ginger said, reminds me of one of those old cough medicine commercials where they have the red ass nose and a beanie and blanket with a cup of steaming coffee. Can't remember the brand though. I think that might be NyQuil. LP in the chat said, what's up, guys? Dodgers just got the dub. Congrats on that. Didn't know you were a Dodgers fan. Ginger said, we haven't done shit either signing wise, Kyle. A 94-year-old Joe chewing to Flacco. Local radio is kind of killing Chris Ballard. And is it reg season, Liam? And Jen just said, man, fuck 2020 and COVID. Took my mom shitty year. Sorry to hear that, brother. Liam said, yeah, season started Thursday. All right. So glad to see you guys in the chat, and love to see you guys connecting. So he's only made 46 appearances in the NFL, talking about Throckmorton, and he's had 27 starts last season. He's played 7 games for the Carolina Panthers. But check this out. This dude is 6'5", 311 pounds. So right away, you're bringing in size. Now we're pretty loaded at guard. We have Quinn Martinez, who's been playing very, very well, and we also have Ben Powers, who we signed from Baltimore last year. So initially, I'm wondering, okay, well, where does he fit into our offense, and what does that look like? But ultimately, I think this was a depth move. This is not somebody that's going to plug and play. But this is because it is really hard to keep an offensive line healthy for 16 games. And these are the kind of depth pieces you want to bring in. So I actually like this move. I think that if we're going to be in the situation we're in, I would rather Denver make these type of moves, and maybe a couple of them get lucky, right? Maybe Josh Reynolds has a really good year. I would rather get, I guess, 5 new players on a deal than overpay for one guy and put all your eggs in that one basket and need it to work. So I think this is the right approach by Denver, and we know that they did clear up all the salary cap space by parting ways with Justin Simmons and trading Jerry Jeudy, and they actually have some money, but you haven't seen that change their approach in any way. So we are seeing a lot of people coming out saying, oh, is Denver going to draft a quarterback? Are they going to move up to 4? Is it worth it to move up to 4? Because they would have to give this year's first rounder and next year's first rounder, along with a player like Cortland Sutton, probably. Now, would it be worth it? I think if you're talking about Caleb Williams, then yeah, maybe. But Drake May, no. JJ McCarthy, let's be real. We don't know a lot about him. He wasn't asked to do that much. Now, every single year, there's a player that we get really crazy about around this time. Zach Wilson comes to mind. I mean, I could go down a long list, but essentially there's like only a 3% chance that the quarterback that you draft, you're going to ultimately end up signing a second contract to, which means most of the time this stuff doesn't work. And we're really not in a position to be throwing away the only capital that we do have to swing, on a guy that is very far from a sure thing. So the Mile High Huddle just released a story, and it's saying, as we enter the beginning days of April, the NFL draft now sits less than a month away. It actually has been sitting less than a month away for the last week, but we won't nitpick. Generating a bit of added pressure for the Denver Broncos in their front office. I'm not sure why. They would say that there's added pressure. We've always known when the draft is. The roster has several holes to fix before heading into the upcoming season. Just quarterback. So the team has to start by hitting on their first round selection taking place. Yeah, every year you have to hit on that round. However, with the immense number of holes to take care of, it creates an intriguing outlook on what this team could do at number 12 overall. While quarterback is the elephant in the room, positions such as tight end and cornerback are well within play considering the circumstances. As a result, when shuffling through the team selecting in the first round, Field Yates believes the Broncos is the league's biggest wild card heading into the NFL draft later this month. Picking at number 12 for now, right? They could move up, but right now they're at 12. I'm struggling to get a grasp. This is what ESPN Field Yates said, okay? I'm struggling to get a grasp on what approach Denver will adopt if it stands pat. Yates said, will the Broncos fill their most obvious need at quarterback, even if there are few leftover options after the teams in the top 10 pursue the top guys? Will they attempt to trade up to secure that quarterback? Denver's light on draft capital, doesn't have a second round pick, so a trade up the board would be difficult to execute. Or will the team... Okay, so basically there's only three options. There's four options. Denver moves up. Okay, that is unless you're moving up to number 1 or number 2, I don't like that idea. Denver stays where they're at and reaches for a quarterback that should have been drafted in the second or third round, but go ahead and draft him at 12. Don't like that idea. Denver moves back and maybe gets a second round pick. Love this idea. You know what I would really enjoy is, let's say there's a team like the Chiefs that are like, you know what, we really need to jump up the board, especially with, I think Rashee Rice is going through some shit right now where he just had to turn himself in. Apparently he got into a domestic violence situation with his girlfriend, and he had a warrant out for his arrest. You know how, these NFL players love to beat on their wives. It seems like there's always a story about this. And there has been cases where we found out that it was completely false. So I'll reserve having an opinion on this until more information comes out. But what does this mean for Rashee Rice and the Kansas City Chiefs at the wide receiver, a position that they were already very thin at going into this offseason? Maybe they would like to move up to 12 and draft a wide receiver really high. And maybe what they could give us is the 31st pick in the NFL draft in the first round and their second round pick, and maybe like a fourth as well or something like that. I think that would be a great move. You move back to 31. You can still get maybe the top 3 cornerback, wake up the next day, draft right away on day 2 and get Bo Nix, and then also have that 4th round pick. Whatever Denver does, I think they need to be thinking about moving backwards, even though there is a huge possibility that the Denver Broncos are going to have Brock Bowers on the board when it's time for them to pick. And that's going to, and the same could be said for Terrion Arnold. The best cornerback could very well be on the board. So is Denver going to be able to say no to Terrion Arnold, no to Brock Bowers, and move back for a more boring pick? Well, look, it's not what we want them to do. It's what's necessary. I mean, what good is buying a Rolls Royce if you don't even have a garage to park it in? All right. We have so many bigger problems than trying to draft Brock Bowers. You know what will happen to Brock Bowers if we don't get quarterback figured out? It's going to be Kyle Pitts all over again. What did Kyle Pitts? He was supposed to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. He's been drafted in every fantasy draft, at least in the top 5 rounds for multiple years. Last year, he slipped a little bit, but the talent, as far as a prospect coming out, the raw talent out of college, out of Florida, he was one of the best tight end prospects we've ever seen, but no quarterback. And he has yet to really fill the shoes. So I don't like that approach, and I'm going to continue to say it. I have more faith in Sean Payton than a lot of these people that are writing these articles. I just don't think, I'm pretty sure it would be weird for Sean to get rid of all these players and not make any big splashes and then take a completely different approach once the draft starts, right? He's kind of been showing us all offseason what the approach is and what the philosophy is. And I guess it's up to us to pick up on all of those little signs. But I think Denver's moving back. I don't see them drafting Terrion Arnold or Brock Bowers. I see them moving back, picking up a day 2 draft pick. And if they do move up, it would have to be all the way up to 2. Moving up to 5 for J.J. McCarthy, that's really hard to sell right now. So We got Nick in the chat. Nick said Broncos country. Let's trade back. I like that. I like that. We agree on that. Rashid got in a big car accident in Dallas. He was racing a Lamborghini in his Corvette. No one died, but a few cars got really banged. But that they were not racing. That's really messed up. And LP said also, I still haven't seen you guys' podcast on Apple. It hasn't been updated in a few months. Rick is the guy that posts onto Apple, so I'll get with him on that. I guess I didn't really realize, the size audience that we were getting from Apple. But keeping that in consideration, thanks for bringing it to my attention. I'll make sure that we get our stuff uploaded there too. Nick said if we draft a wide receiver at any point, we got to take away his keys. AFC West wide receivers have a bad recent history with that. Yes. Now I can only think of Henry Ruggs right now, but yes. Bill said, or Ginger said, Bill, you one classy son of a bitch. I want to take my daughter to a Pokemon event. She loves it. I need your Devontae ass to show us where we can go that isn't crawling with homeless shit. Are you going to LA, Ginger? Bill's got the same question. You going to the City of Angels? Good time. I was trying to link up with Bill when I was in I was in LA 4 months ago, and I was trying to, but we just couldn't get our time things on the same. But next time I come to LA, that's definitely happening. We're going to grab a beer and a slice. All right, so Rashid Rice is cooperating with authorities following the crash. Bill had a lot of information right there. The Chiefs president, Mark Donovan, also responded to Rice's alleged involvement in the accident during a radio interview on Monday. This is what he said. In all these situations, you have to wait until you have all the facts, and frankly, we don't have all the facts at this point. The one comforting fact that we do have is that there was a multi-car crash in Texas, in Dallas, and unfortunately, it doesn't appear that anyone was hurt, and we should be grateful for that. We'll get to the bottom of it. We'll gather all the facts. Okay, I just got to say, yes, I don't like the Chiefs, but putting that aside, this sounds pretty messed up. If you ever... Yeah, I know in the military this happens a lot. You're running late for something, and let's say it's like physical training, and everyone's outside exercising, and you think you can just kind of show up late and slide into the back row and no one will notice. Just mid jumping jacks, just hop in there and start doing it. And you pull up to the parking lot and you're getting ready to make your move, and then someone else pulls up and you're like, oh my God, I'm not the only one that's late. And you feel so much better. I'm just saying this is a little bit how that sounds. So the one comforting fact is that there was multiple car crashes. Like, just taking out of context, not the greatest thing that we've ever heard the Chiefs president say. And yeah, I knew he was going to say that. It's the right thing to say. We need more information before we talk about it. Hassan Reddick, after being traded to the Jets, said, I don't think people are ready for what's going to happen. This is a pretty deja vu moment, if I say so myself. All the people, this is like the Dalvin Cook of last year coming to the Jets. No one knows what's about to happen. This is going to be insane. Hopefully Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy. All right. So like I said, it's going to be a shorter episode today. So we're approaching the last, probably 5 minutes here. Tomorrow's going to be a nice, lengthy 2-hour one. But here we go. Calvin Throckmorton signed the 1-year deal. We talked about that. The Houston Texans signed Derek Barnett and Naveal Hewitt. The Chiefs signed Carson Wentz on a 1-year deal. This was a really interesting hire for the reason that Carson Wentz is still, 31, 32? Let me look it up real quick. Carson Wentz age. 31 years old. So he's still I guess at that point, and you remember when Patrick Mahomes against, I think it was the Jaguars, he got hurt and he had to go to the locker room, and then somebody came in, I think it was Chad Henne, and led him on a 99-yard touchdown drive. And we were all like, is Chad Henne really good all of a sudden? And I'm like, no, this is like one of those things we can't measure. It's like momentum. There's something to be said for playing behind somebody as good as Mahomes, Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, right? Whether it's Jordan Love or Case Keenum or Jimmy Garoppolo, these things are not uncommon. So I do wonder a little bit. Carson Wentz only at 31 years old. Could he potentially sit behind Patrick Mahomes, work with Andy Reid, and have a late season spark and maybe go on somewhere else? Probably another backup role, but maybe the Carson Wentz, maybe his best football is not behind him. And if there was one place that you had to send him to in order to see him succeed, I think it would be Kansas City. So that'll be fun to keep track of. Hassan Reddick, who was acquired via trade yesterday, was officially introduced to the club in New York today. Conditional 2026 third-round pick was what they gave for him. Speaking of the Eagles, safety Reed Blankenship signed a one-year extension through 2025. The team announced. Mark Garofalo reports Blankenship's extension will earn him $3.9 million, fully guaranteed over the next 2 seasons. And Jeff Driscoll was signed by the Washington Commanders. Jeff Driscoll. And you know what I almost did too? I almost started this episode with breaking news. Jeff Driscoll signs with the Commanders, and just totally act like it's the most groundbreaking story. I was going to make it my thumbnail and everything because honestly, I do want to participate. I was just telling my friend that's ignoring me that the April Fool's stuff, like I always want to do an April Fool's joke, but I don't have the heart to do a good one. I don't like instilling panic in people, like true panic. I just don't like it. I wish I could have fun like that, but can't. Tastes different out that. All right, so that is the NFL news roundup for today. Don't think I missed anything. We got Wentz. We talked about Vontae Davis. We talked about the Broncos moves. Some of the smaller news. The Steelers did sign a wide receiver. And Kyle Allen signed a one-year deal. Cordell Patterson. This is actually really important. I'm glad I didn't skip this. I did not see this. Cordell Patterson signed a 2-year contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Cordell Patterson was doing really, really good with Atlanta. And now he's going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. And Bill said, the older you get, the stupider April 1st seems. I can tell you that. Bill, our 70-year-old fan. I'm just kidding, Bill. Jen just said, my anniversary is today. Oh, shit. What kind of dipshit gets married on April Fool's Day? This redheaded prick. That's who. Jinja, I remember you messaging me when you were getting married. And I sent this like long, thoughtful speech. And then I was like, he's probably so hammered right now. I can't read this. But that's awesome, man. Congratulations. This would be your 1-year anniversary. Correct me if I'm wrong. It might be your year 2. We got Crafty Southpaw in the chat. Grassi did a skit showing the Browns front office calling the Texans and saying, so that Will Watson trade, that was just an April Fool's joke, right? That's hilarious. Unfortunately for Browns fans, that was not an April Fool's joke. That was $260 million guaranteed. Nick said, nice. That is hilarious, dude. Getting married on. I just need to know, is that part of the plan, or did you find that out like today or like last week when you were like, "Oh, the anniversary's coming. I better act like I knew the date." All right. That is last thing I'll say. Browns running back Nyheim Hines, and I bring this up for you, Jinja, because he is an ex-Colt. He said that he's learned his lessons following his jet ski accident. Recovery is on track. He's even more likely the injury that caused him to miss the season wasn't worse. Hines, who signed a one-year deal with the Browns this offseason, suffered a torn ACL while being on a jet ski after being hit by another rider last July. Actually, one of the pitchers in Miami, I remember waking up in the morning and the whole city was super sad because I think the pitcher, I believe he was only like 24, 25 years old, got in a boating accident and died. These type of things happen in Florida. And I'm telling you, like, coming from Florida, living in Florida for decades, it is literally, people just need to have a little more. You got to respect nature. You got to respect boating. You got to like, everyone just comes there and they get super fucked up and they think that they can, fuck around, and it's like, yeah, people die every single day there. And it's just sad that like no one seems to like pick up on, all these lessons that everyone else is learning. Like we still got drinking and driving, even though Henry Ruggs went 160 and killed an innocent lady and her dogs burned to death in a vehicle. Like, why can't we learn from each other's mistakes? And this is what Nyheim Hines is saying right here. I learned my lessons, and that's all you can ask for. I believe in redemption. I do believe in second and third chances, but there is a limit at some point. And this is what Nyheim Hines said about it. I could do better not putting myself in that situation. It was a freak accident, but I've learned my lesson from that mistake. I won't put myself in that situation to miss the season off the field. Based off that, I could say whatever I want about the Bills, but really it's on me. I shouldn't have put myself in that situation. Since the accident, Hines has been in, and by the way, guys, this is not just like an NFL football thing. Every time in my 7 years in the military, every time we're going on leave, they would do what's called a, holy crap, I've been out too long. It's like a, risk assessment. There's one more word before it. It's blank risk assessment. So, for instance, if we're getting ready for Thanksgiving, they would have what's called a safety stand down. The whole squadron would get together and they would say, don't deep fry your turkey if it's still frozen. Like they would go through Christmas lights or the leading causes of fires, like all the stuff that you hear all the time. But the thing is when you're in the military, you're military property. So you don't own you anymore. And literally you can get written up in Article 92 of the UCMJ if you get too sunburnt. Because if you get too sunburnt, then you can't wear your uniform and you can't move around. And literally you have damaged military property if you get too sunburnt. I think, we don't get paid millions of dollars, but I think this is the right approach. Like if you're an NFL athlete, you have to be thinking at all times what I have to do to keep my body ready to go. Okay. Which does mean that you can't have the same type of fun that you can have when you really do have, your life in your own hands. If you're an athlete, if you're in the military, if you have like one of those type of jobs where you can't get hurt, your health is very important. You have to, that has to be instilled in some of these younger players. And I don't know if they do safety stand downs in the NFL. Maybe they should. Bill said Pat McAfee shouted out on Tom Grassi on Monday Night Raw. He was in the front row. No way. Who was in the front row? Pat McAfee or Tom Grassi? That is so sick. That is awesome. Apparently, a dude stole a car, was running from the cops, and jumped off a little bridge into some water. This is the most Florida man. And right into the water was gators waiting in Florida. Not sure what. I heard Rogan say it. Oh, That is hilarious. Not funny, but it's really sad. So if you eat the gator that ate a human, is that considered cannibalism? No one's gonna answer. No, of course not, right?
Maybe it's just seasoned.
Maybe it's just seasoned. She's crazy. Okay, as far as complimenting the Browns, Jerome and Chubb said they're over 200 pounds. They're bruisers of runners. I can get my nose dirty. Look, I think that he's going to be fine. It's an ACL, so I think he'll be all right. But him joining with the Browns, of course, you have Nick Chubb coming back from his disgusting injury. And I think his injury was, if I'm not mistaken, it was a fib fracture, both bones completely, which I'm familiar with. I think that's what happened to him because I remember not even wanting to look at it when it was on TV. So he's coming back. How healthy is he going to be? We'll find out. Hines is going to be there as well, but we do know that Kareem Hunt probably won't be there. Maybe he's actually going to just kind of squander out of the NFL without giving us any, players do that. And 2 years from now, you go, where did Kareem Hunt go? And you have to look it up. And it's like, it didn't say he retired, but he's not on the team. I think that's what's going to end up happening to him this year. Grassi, front row. McAfee does announcing on Raw now. No way. No way. Dude, that is so cool. I know that guy. Kyle, I saw some weird ass lights twice over here at night. We have Camp Otterbury a few miles away. I swear they're testing stealth flying devices by me. Ginger, are you smoking pot again? Are you out on your balcony? Hi. Taking videos of fireflies. No, this wouldn't surprise me because the other day I like people are seeing a lot of weird stuff nowadays in the sky. UFOs. We'll get into it on Friday night Q&A, but there's a lot of weird stuff going on. Cannibalism by proxy, Nick said. Just blew my fucking mind, Kyle. I am too baked. Well, on that note, I got to say, I wasn't even going to go live today, but I did not want to miss it. I missed you guys. I'm going to be back tomorrow. Ginger, I don't know if you heard, but I am also posting content on my personal channel, and I just put it in the comments, so you can check that out on YouTube. We're actually starting to build some momentum over there on that side of the house, so just wanted to say thank you to all of you guys who show up every single time we go live. And tomorrow we're going to be going live. I'm going to be back with Rick. We might be doing that one on Thursday, but regardless, I'll be live tomorrow. I'll be live the next day, the next day, and the next day, and the next day. So if I'm not here, I'm at my personal YouTube page. But yeah, lots of move coming up. And you know what? Rick kind of going through this move and doing these things. I think this is a really good time for him to do it and for, everybody to kind of take a deep breath, because once the NFL draft gets here, it's hitting the ground running. We got the NFL draft, then we got OTAs, and then we're preseason, and then we're going into the regular season. So this is kind of the last couple weeks where it's like free agency's over, but the draft hasn't started. So things are going to be picking up here in a little bit. But Ginger, definitely check out my mock drafts. I'm going to be doing some more mock drafts this week, so definitely check them out. Nick, Ginger, Bill, Crafty, everybody else, Liam was in here, and all of our non-commenters. Thank you guys for coming in, and I will see you guys tomorrow. And as always, go Broncos. See ya.